Hi YouTube, I'm Lo.
And I'm Emma.
And you reach Book Girls on the Internet! Okay. We are talking about A Broken Blade by Melissa Blair. Shout out Ottawa. And I've never been to Ottawa. But so this book
Shout it out.
is also a book that I found trending on Book Talk thanks to Indigo. I don't even have TikTok. And it's more than 400 pages ish, and it was awesome. When did you read this?
I read this book a couple weeks ago, and I read it in a night. I'd gone over to Lori's to hang out, and I said, I'm in a book slump. I need a book recommendation. And she handed me this, and I read it in one sitting.
Same. I read it on the clock at work.
Even better.
Spread into, I want to say maybe 2-3 days. The book is about Kira, and she's a killer.
She's the king's assassin.
Yeah, so she's a killer for hire. Not really though, kind of in bondage, low-key. But she is a halfling, and she has a lot of trauma. There's just a lot going on. Oh, this book also has a trigger warning, which was quite interesting. One of the trope is enemies to lover, and we follow basically Kira's journey as she tries to fulfill her mission for the king, and things that happen along the way. What's something that you really liked about the book?
Well, something I want to add about the book is she's been trained to be an assassin. So basically the kingdom is hunting down all these halflings to kill them. But the ones that they can find use of, or use for, such as being an assassin, do they hire them as, like, people to work in the castle, too? I can't remember. I'm going to have to make that
They're all, like, it's kind of like the surveillance state, but through people that are trained to surveil and / kill. So I think they're all killers, but she's, like, the best.
Yeah, she's the best. They're trained for years and years and years, like...
Are they all girls, I think?
They're all girls.
Yeah.
Do they... I can't remember.
Do they what?
I was gonna say, do they... I'm like,
oh, they're all trained also by other women, so it's actually... It's giving handmaids, actually, now that I think about it. But Kira also has basically, like, a dead friend.
Well, we don't know. It's kind of, like, alluded to for the first 2/3. Like, you don't find out till 3/4 of the way what happened. You just know that...
But that flashback haunts her, like, throughout the book.
Big time.
Yeah, which is interesting. And you see... I really liked Kira's depth in the book because, like, you can see her change through the book, and, like at the beginning it's really giving, like, oh, I'm really loyal to the crown, I just need to, like, look out for myself and stuff like that, and then
she's like, it's whatever, but this is my job, and I'll do my job, and I'll do it well.
Yeah.
And the plot is basically, there is this character called the Shadow, and she is dispatched to kill the Shadow
because the Shadow is disrupting, like, basically feeding a sentiment of resistance, and obviously the crown feels threatened. And so she's like, it's a kind of like a cat and mouse situation.
I love some of those early scenes with the Shadow. Like, she talks about before the book starts, they had an interaction before, and, like, he bested her, but there's, like, she's like, oh, but it was because of this reason or that reason, so there's a reason, or there's an excuse, so the idea
I like the ego.
Yeah, there's a big ego, and the idea is that they meet again, she's like, oh, for sure I'll win. And I love it.
Yeah, she's kind of funny, but, like, in a deadpan way. It's like, I don't know, it's very, the book itself is quite dark, but Kira, even if she's, like, very, I don't know, dark and serious, like, she's very endearing, and she's very protective. And there's this little girl, or younger girl, who is kind of, like, not her caregiver, but kind of like her houseworker. Because she's the king's blade, she has, I guess, like, her quarters in the castle. and every time she travels, she brings a little gift to, I don't know her name, but she's also under bondage,
Yeah, I
or
like
like
the.
enslaved by the crown.
Yeah.
Um, I really liked also Melissa Blair, the author. She did a really good job to show or demonstrate a range of identities, like in her characters and even side characters, which I really really enjoyed. Like their Kira's travel partners, the other women.
Mm. I did like the relationships between women in this book.
Yeah, I thought it was like very rich. Because I think sometimes in like enemies to lover, anything like remotely like with a romantic interest, there's a lot of energy I think spent developing that, and not a lot of other contextual relationships or characters. So I really think that Melissa Blair did a really good job to keep those other characters that were not necessarily the blade in the shadow like very interesting and funny and engaging.
She's also indigenous.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk? Because I remember when you gave me this book, you're like, "Oh, there's such interesting parallels between
Yeah.
like the halfling
Yes.
happens in the book and like indigenous peoples in."
Yeah. Well, it's not that I'm
America.
familiar about it, but yeah. So the book actually opens with like a decree or something, like the halfling decree or something, which I thought was a nice parallel to the Indian Act. And basically the context or the world where the plot takes place is the crown, who is basically a crown of mortals, yes, has persecuted the elves slash dark fae into like a really small part of the kingdom that they rule, and basically the halflings are half fae, half elf, half fae. I don't know what's the difference between elf and fae, but anyways,
I know, one's powerful, one's not.
one has magic, one doesn't. Anyways, the halflings are like a mix of the two, and they want to eradicate that for like basically have like pure blood society or whatever, which is really reminiscent of, you can think of like les pensionnats, what is it in English, residential schools, where you want, literally the state of Canada wanted to wash out the indigenous culture or slash heritage out of children and basically eradicate this basically this lineage. So I definitely thought that there was like a parallel there, and one of the trigger warning is colonialism, and I thought that this parallel or mirror was very well drawn out through the book.
You know what just occurred to me as you were talking about that? When I was thinking back on the Indian Act, like reading about it, women, like if indigenous women married white men, they would lose their indigenous status.
Oh.
And it wasn't the same for men.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that.
And in the book, the like halfling women get taken to this island to become like assassins. But did they kill the men? I can't remember. Like the boy halflings that they find.
Yeah, that's a good question. I guess they do, because there's
no purpose for them. So, and like in this kingdom, if they don't have purpose, they just kill anyone.
Yeah, I think so. There's definitely a really dark book, so I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a very complex world, which I really appreciate. And it's also like the first book of this series. It's part of the Halfling saga. And yeah, it was very complicated, and I can't wait to see what there's going to be a sequel in spring 2023, I believe. And very interested to see what's going to happen. And also, by the way, I don't know if it's confirmed, but when you read the book, you get a sense that like Kira is like special, because her eyes are like a special color or something.
Yeah, I think they do confirm something at the end.
That I feel like it's kind of giving like, oh, she's like a chosen one, but we're not really sure like through what, like why.
Yeah.
And whether that means, well, she does have magic. No. I don't know. I don't remember.
I can't remember.
Some people can have magic because the land has magic, which also is like basically definitely demonstrating like indigenous like knowledge, like the land has power and it's channeled through the elves, and the fae, so one of them, and in the story the land is dying, so there's actually also like an element of like,
I forgot about that.
yeah,
Wow,
it's
I
like
forgot a lot.
reminiscent of like climate change and stuff. Honestly, it's a really like profound book, but it's also like so fun to read. Honestly, yeah, it was really fun, and it's
very enjoyable to read.
yeah, and because there's like so much, I want to say cultural baggage behind the book, like not everyone, but a lot of people who engage with sci-fi has watched Lord of the Rings, so it was like very easy to like picture the elves in their city. I believe it's called Aralinth. Oh, there's a nice little map.
I do love a good map.
And you can follow along Kira's travels with the map in the book. So it was very neat. Yeah, so I really like comparing to other sci-fis where sometimes the world where the story takes place has no reference already in mainstream culture is like kind of hard to keep up, but this one was like very easy because it was just like, okay, elves, like I can picture what elves look like, and then mortals, where there's mortals everywhere.
Yeah, you didn't have as much of the chaos that can often come at the beginning of a fantasy of the world building.
Yeah,
because it was pieces that you can kind of draw from other examples.
Yeah, it was really cool. Well, what's interesting though in this world is like there's no like beasts, which I thought that like,
that's true.
Usually when the hero is traveling, some kind of monster is gonna come out. But there was none of that in that one. It was very much focused on like the antagonist is like definitely the crown, and this is like clear, like very clear.
I didn't even notice that. So I was trying to think, I'm like, even when they're going that part where they go through the mountains, but
oh my god, wait, you might be right. There is a magical woods, a part where there's magical woods and it's like dangerous, but I don't know that they fight monsters.
The Deadwood? I don't think they fight monsters.
Okay, maybe scratch that. I don't know.
I think. Oh yeah, in the Rift. But I don't think there's monsters in.
I just don't remember like beasts.
But don't they tell a story about how the Rift was created? And I wonder if maybe that will kind of play into more of book 2.
I forgot about that part.
Yeah, me too, until I just saw the Rift on the map.
Yeah. Well, again, very complex story, but it was very, very, very fun. Recommended sci-fi, definitely. It was trending for a reason.
Yeah, and I was just reading about how it was like published, and she self-published originally anonymously, and the author said in an interview that she reached out to a bunch of book talkers, and 25 of them reached back, so she sent them a box nicely wrapped with a book in it but without her name on it, and also some clues, and she said that with the clues and reading the books they should be able to kind of figure out who wrote it, and apparently some people actually did, and they're like, oh, it's Melissa Blair.
I wonder if like that is what pushed her to like sell her manuscript, like because it was already very well received.
Right.
Yeah, honestly, this is like a testament to
I love
book talk.
Book talk is so impactful, and I actually love it because so many of those tropes, I love them. Like,
they're
I'm such
big
a
sellers.
sucker, and
yeah,
now
they're
it's
big
like
sellers.
the world is like, okay, clearly we need to pay attention because people love that. Enemies to lovers, like the one bed trope, like, you know, all that shit, and all that stuff. I love it.
Yeah. But yeah, recommended. And also if you're basically like into series / sagas. I don't know how to say that word.
Sagas.
I think it's cool to get into series like early, basically when the first book drops, because it's like definitely
disagree.
What?
Because I want to read them all.
No, because then when the next thing drops, it's like everyone's reading it at the same time.
I know, but I forget stuff, so by the time the next book comes out, I'm like, what happened? Who's that character? So it's my own shortcut.
Well, if you need a refresher about what happened when the second, you can watch
our
our video.
That doesn't tell you anything.
Yeah. Anyways, there's a major plot twist at the end. I did not see that coming.
Yeah.
We're not gonna say what happens. But yeah, I think that's it. Thanks for watching. If you like our video, please subscribe.